Okay, is this working? Hello there, YouTube. It's Victor, gimmeabreakman, and doing, as I promised before, these uncut, just reaction videos to things that people are emailing me about. I got a bunch of emails on my Facebook and on this YouTube channel last week about two articles. One of them, or two. One is an article and one's actually a video. The first article is why have young people in Japan stopped having sex, which appears on The Guardian, which I will not get to today, but actually a lot of the information that I will be talking about appears in both of these sources. One of them is an article, one of them is like a video, like I said, and the other thing is a video called "The Japanese Love Industry." Okay, so I made a few notes. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Japanese love industry first. And first of all, I've never seen this guy before, but the host, great host, his name is Ryan Duffy. I won't say I'm a fanboy yet, but I like his stuff. He's got guts. He's apparently it's his first time to Japan, so it's not like he's talking from experience, but he does a pretty damn good job for a novice, for a green toad, on the subject of the Japanese love industry. And actually, the fact that he's a newcomer, it's kind of interesting. You get to see things kind of. I love meeting people who are just coming to Japan. You get to kind of see Japan, experience Japan again through their eyes. So there's that. Anyway, one thing though that kind of annoyed me was he starts the video off getting a tattoo because he claims that this is what he must do to appease the yakuza who are in complete control, as they say, of Kabukicho. I'm not from Tokyo. I don't live in Tokyo. I'm sure the yakuza, there are some yakuza that you don't want to, real yakuza you don't want to fuck with. But he already had a bunch of tats anyway, so it's not like a big sacrifice on his part. Anyway, he's getting tats. So he comes up with some stats that appear in the other article as well, which is 50% of all females between the age of 18 and 34 are single, and 60% of men are single. And the question is, why are they single, right? Now, I've noticed this before. I notice a lot of my students do not have boyfriends or girlfriends, but some do. But again, my objective experience is not scientifically valid, which I tell everybody, and I often tell you guys in your comments, well, I know somebody who blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter who you know. It doesn't matter if you know 10 people or even maybe 50 people. Unless you know thousands of people, your experience and your opinion is just interesting anecdotal evidence. So the question is, why are people single? And this guy cites, I'm not sure if he wrote all the material in the video, but he talks about changing gender roles. But I will say I disagree there because I teach a lot of high school kids as well. I teach adults, kids, children, high school, and we ask them, what would you like to be in the future? What do you want to be in the future? What do you want to be when you grow up? And still, I would say a good, maybe this isn't a lot, but 20% or so, and again, subjective experience, say, I want to be a housewife. I want to marry a rich man. I want to be a mother. Okay? And I know a lot of my students who are engaged, actually, they want to get married and have children. I've known a lot of women in this past year, actually, maybe 5 or 6 who gotten married and they want to have children. So it's not like it doesn't happen. I know a guy who works in the wedding industry, right? People getting married left and right. It's not like this is the whole country stopped. So although statistically speaking, it may be on the up, or marriages may be down, etc., but it's still happening. Okay, another possibility of why men and women do not have couples, or do not have boyfriends and girlfriends, or men are now otaku. But women are otaku too. Cosplay and stuff is happening. So yeah, that's true, I suppose, But it also depends on the kind of, I'm not dating them, so I don't care. But a lot of women don't mind having skinny, scrawny boyfriends who are into manga. I have one of my students is actually engaged to be married in February, and her boyfriend is a doctor, and he reads manga. And sometimes it annoys her, but she loves them and stuff. And I've seen pictures of them together. They look like a beautiful young couple. Anyway, those are two of the possibilities. Yeah, about the changing gender roles. I still think Japan is still way behind when it comes to other industrialized countries, and so sexism in the workplace is rampant. And once you get married, the chances of you getting a job or going up, the business ladder, the corporate ladder in your company, they go down, because your bosses think you're probably going to just pop out some kids, get pregnant, pop out some kids. What's the point wasting any time on you? So there's that. Anyway, and Japan is an aging society. I'm just commenting on things that are in this video. It's a great video, by the way. I highly recommend you go check it out. It's on vice.com. I'll leave a link in the description. And they talk about how, 65% of Japan is now 24%. Is it 24% of Japan is 65 years old and over? And I think I read in another article that by the year 2020, well, I forgot the exact number, but it's some startling number will happen in that year. And at the end of the century, according to this article, according to this video, half of Japan will be halved. The population will be halved by the end of the century. So wow, that's amazing. Now, I don't know if that's such a bad thing. A lot of people are always complaining Japan is too crowded, right? It is a tiny little country. You got 125 million people here on an island or a group of islands the size of California. So maybe it's good. It's just like when VCRs came out and people all panicked, oh, people are not going to be able to make money from movies anymore. No one's going to go to the movies because we're going to start renting. And the same thing happened with DVDs, and now that's happening with downloading. Society will somehow adapt to fit what is happening out there. If there are less people, society will figure out a way to make money to feed everybody and to give everyone jobs, and this country will still be okay. I don't believe that just because the population decreases that Japan's economic strength will be cut in half necessarily. They're just going to have to figure out a way to make things work with the resources that they have. That's my opinion. Of course, I'm not an expert. I'm just a moron with a subjective opinion. But it seems to me that somehow, things will work out in the end. Just like every time someone panics about, we're going to have less of this or more of that, it works out. Okay. So, but it's something we have to think about, right? It's not going to work out by itself. We gotta figure out how to make it work out. Okay, and this is something interesting that the article doesn't say this, but it was. I think this year is the first year in history that Japan has sold more adult diapers than baby diapers. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, give me a link and put it in the description. I'll put it in the description. Anyway, and then he goes on to say that one of the reasons that Japan is not people do not have girlfriends and boyfriends, or at least boyfriends, is that because of the hosts, which I call bullshit. Okay, that may be true for a very, very small percentage of women who have that kind of money to throw down and who live in areas where there are host bars. There are host bars very near to my school, actually, 3 blocks away. We're right on the border of the weird area. Yeah, so they do exist, but I rarely meet any women who actually spend any money down there. It is a lot of money. It does cost quite a bit of money to visit these host bars. So I honestly doubt that you can blame Japan's low population rate or birth rate on hosts. Yeah, that's just bullshit to me. But it is interesting, and apparently he does go into a host bar and he questions them and he interviews them and he calls him out on his bullshit. He goes, I believe you're having sex with these women. And he goes, no man, we're just talking to him. And one of the hosts apparently makes $800,000 a year. You can watch a video. That's not really the point. But the point is, I don't think that's really the problem. Hosts. And one of the regular customers points out something that's an international phenomenon and has existed forever. Love fades. Yes, I'm sorry to tell you, we have this idealistic idea. That's quite redundant. We have this ideal, Hollywood created, vision of love. That's just bullshit. I mean, that's not how love is. Work. Love is hard work. If you want things to work out with your wife or husband, you got to put the work in. Love fades, yeah, but it doesn't necessarily disappear. I will even say that it doesn't have to fade. It can just change shape, right? And you can still have a great time. You can still be, happy. Okay, you don't have to be ecstatically happy. You don't have to be Titanic. I'll love you forever kind of happy. I mean, that kind of stuff is kind of, I think, bullshit. To be honest, because. That feels great, but it also causes you to lose sight of everything. It makes you crazy and blind, and you get very little accomplished, to be honest. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. But it was interesting to hear a young girl in Japan saying love fades, and that's why she doesn't want any part of it. Anyway, then they go on to the pseudo-sex industry, which is quite amazing here. They have all these weird sex toys and shops and it's quite open. Now, a lot of people like to blame Japan or accuse Japan of being extremely perverted, right? But I believe that Japan is just more smarter about marketing sexuality here than Westerners are, and more open about it, because they don't have the Christian bullshit here that exists in America. There's no, in America, you know, like all these laws, you can't do this, you can't do that, blue laws, and there's, I mean, still sodomy laws are still on the books in I don't know, like a bunch of states, maybe, I don't know how many, but a bunch. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And I was going to keep this long, but it's dragging out already. But in Japan, you don't have that problem. You have, it's quite an open field out there, as in you can build stores that sell this and that, and there's no, and although, yeah, it's kind of, a lot of people think that's gross and that's disgusting, but it's out there, you know, and they know how to market it. They know how to basically chop up the whole sexual relationship and figure out how to sell each part to everybody, right? You have sex robots, you have sex dolls, you have sex toys, you have little handy things that you can relieve yourself when you're under sexual pressure, things like that. It's amazing, you know, and they're everywhere. And it's not that big a deal. So there's that too. So it's, but it is interesting. Then the guy goes on, Dan goes on, the host goes to a cuddle bar, cuddle type of service. You know, I don't know what it's called, but a place where you can pay ladies to do things like clean your ears, stare into your eyes, cuddle with them. You can sleep on their arm. But they interview one of the girls, and it's actually one of the saddest part of the videos, because she's like, I have no feelings at all. And when she sees couples together at Christmas, and I think she said Christmas. Christmas is a very romantic time of the year here in Japan. She says, Shine, I wish they would die. And he asks her, he says, do you have a boyfriend? And she says, Iru wake nai janai desu ka? Iru wake nai janai desu ka? Which is kind of, I like the way she said it. Iru wake nai janai desu ka? Like, that's ridiculous. Why would I have a boyfriend, right? And then she says it's a pain in the neck, which is mendokusai. She says, that's mendokusai, I don't want to have a boyfriend. But the saddest thing is her wanting couples who show public, you know, couples who show public displays of affection to die. She actually says shine, which in Japan is the closest level to fuck you or fuck off that you can imagine. They don't really have a way to say fuck off. They just say die. And in Japan, it's pretty bad. But it's kind of sad, you know, and it makes me think that she does recognize that there is a hole in her life. And I've always thought that, although I'm for more of a libertarian kind of you know, mentality, and I think people should be allowed to do whatever the hell they want, especially if it has to do with their own body. I think women and men, for that matter, who if you go out there and you get involved in too many relationships, whether you're getting paid for it or whether you're just being a slut or a man whore, in the end that's going to hurt you. And it's going to damage your heart and your soul. And I've talked about that before. So there's that. Then he goes on and he has an interesting meeting with some Yakuza, but he says the notoriously violent Yakuza. But I think the Yakuza in Japan, although they are, of course, there's some that are quite violent, they've got nothing on like the Guatemalan, and I think it's El Salvadoran, you know, gangs and the Mexican gangs. South Americans are much more violent. So notoriously violent, yeah. Actually, not really, no. I mean, yeah, they kind of beat up each other up a little bit, and they push people around and stuff, but not really that violent. But anyway, it's an interesting video, and the ending is the ending is quite shocking. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but I recommend you go check out the video. If you do, I don't know if there's anywhere to tell him that I sent you, but tell him I sent you. I think it's a pretty interesting video, and Dan's a pretty interesting presenter. And I guess that's all about it. The hostess seemed to speak really good Japanese, but at the same time it seemed choppy, so it was kind of weird. Like I wonder where they got her. Maybe she's part of the crew. But all in all, the sexual industry in Japan is a tremendously large industry. When it comes to pornography in the world, I don't think Japan is even up there. I remember reading stats about it. And I think USA is much worse. And for those of you who think that Japan is just full of pervs and stuff, no, man, it's just they're everywhere. Okay, so yeah, I mean, come on, you guys heard about that woman who was like kidnapped and kept hostage in her. A couple women actually, I think, were kept hostage somewhere in Ohio or something. I mean, that stuff is sick. I mean, but that happens everywhere. So. You know, I know everyone you want to control things by understanding them and by labeling them. But humans are humans. And there is some really weird shit that happens here, but that stuff happens everywhere. So Don't hate on the Japanese for being human, because that's what you're doing when you accuse them of just being pervs. Okay. Thanks for watching. That's my video on that topic, and I'll be back soon with a response to that other story, which is why have young people in Japan stopped having sex? And so look for that video coming soon, next day or so. That's it.